Ladies and gentlemen, stand back because we're going to have quite a show here in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the only platform where all music and wrestling matters. And let me just assure you tonight on Sportswire Radio that this button I'm actually going to need quite a bit because our guest, who normally is the female Dave Meltzer and Wade Keller of the wrestling world, is going to rather tonight turned into the female version of Anthony Steele. I'll explain why in a little while. We'll definitely talk about that. Plus, we'll get into all things related to the West Virginia Wrestling Federation. We will certainly talk about the Ryan James Memorial Show next Saturday, 325 7th Street in the Richardson Building in beautiful Parkersburg, West Virginia. We'll also talk about what's ahead on a special Memorial Day show for legit alternative wrestling aftermath with one match already announced. And I'm going to ask our guest a question about one man that didn't walk away with that legit alternative wrestling championship, which was a similar question that I asked another man that I'm sure our guest is going to say plenty about here. Plus, who knows whatever else. Plus, we're going to start the show when we get here after I do my intro and say a few words about somebody that has been the topic, not just of our little scene, but the entire wrestling world. And I'll tell you about that, plus who knows, whatever else. But since we are here, and even though it's Mother's Day in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the platform that our guest, legit alternative wrestling in the West Virginia Wrestling Federation, most certainly helped build here, Sportswire Radio. My allergies are through the roof. I'm on like my 13th different soda, but that doesn't stop us because I have to give our guest, well, I didn't quite have 13 sodas, but I will certainly give you 13 type of long war chants of an introduction for our guest. And certainly we want to wish everybody also a very, very happy Mother's Day. But since the chat is waiting for it, she really wants me to get this over with. I am now going to start this show here in style and in the famous words of Def Leppard frontman, who's not quite Steel Panther, but his name is still Joe Elliott. Let's get rocked, baby, and start the show off here in style on Sportswire Radio, the number one global radio station where all music and wrestling matters. So with without further ado, here on the Sports Report, number one global sports show. She's been featured in Slam Wrestling, which once upon a time, some guy that only a few people know, but the Hitman Hart and Natalia Neidhart, who a few people also know, have written in. She's the female version of Dave Meltzer and Wade Keller, who's going to turn into Anthony Steele tonight. Her name is, simply put, from legit alternative wrestling, Courtney. My friend, how are we doing?
I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
Ask me after we're off the air, and I'll tell you then. But I say that every time I'm on the air. But we're alive. I did the intro. I went through it. I always tell the story. About 2 years ago, I was on the air here, and I went like this when I did it. And then my guest looked at me, and I was like, "Oops, okay, yeah, we're all right." So, yeah, I almost thought I was gonna basically lose my voice or get a heart attack on the air. So I was either or. But hey, you know
You,
what?
you
Every day's
gotta you gotta channel it from here.
well, you know what? I heard Dave Mustaine famously just say, "I just go out there and do it." When he was in, he sings in Megadeth. So we'll leave it at that. If it works for Dave Mustaine, I can certainly do it here. But Courtney, I know we're going to talk a lot tonight about the WVWF and legit alternative wrestling, but there is something that I do want to talk about for a few minutes and get your perspective on because it's obviously hit the entire wrestling world. And actually, it kind of hits us here on Sportswire Radio because we had a man on here about 48 hours or so ago that certainly had many battles with him and certainly was at the forefront of changing the wrestling world alongside him. That was Pitbull Gary Wolf. But I'm here to talk to you about your thoughts on the loss earlier today, this afternoon, of Sabu, the legendary Sabu, who unfortunately we lost way too soon at the age of 60.
Yeah, I could not believe that. Um, we had just seen that he was having his last match. There was no ropes, it was barbed wire. He's
Yeah.
doing his dives, acting like nothing had changed. He looked
Yeah.
just as good as he ever had. And then now this morning, like I see it all over Facebook and I couldn't believe it. Like
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping it was one of those hoax that assholes make up. Like I really hoped that it wasn't real, but unfortunately it is.
Yeah, I mean, he just wrestled last month, like you said, GCW, wrestled there. That was his final match. He was in AEW 2 years ago. We saw him there. And I
Mhm.
mean, I don't know. I was speaking with my brother off the air. Now, I don't know what the reports are or anything on that, but he was thinking maybe it was related to his last match. I don't know. I have no idea. I've kind of unfortunately been out of pocket the last few hours, but it's definitely a devastating loss because you think about ECW, especially us, right? Because we're in the Northeast, and I know it maybe touches us a little bit more because ECW was so ingrained in the Northeast. ECW, obviously, Tri-State Championship Wrestling, then became Eastern Championship Wrestling, and then ECW, and really, in a lot of ways, ECW was kind of the Attitude Era before the Attitude Era. And this guy in Sabu really changed the game. And so many wrestlers owe a debt of gratitude to him. And that's why I think this loss hits a lot of us here at home because of what he meant in just what we see today in 2025 wrestling.
Yeah. I know a lot of us at LAW are definitely feeling it. If you were a really big fan of ECW and you've watched LAW, you could see a lot of the ECW elements that we
Yep.
have. I'm just going to say it, we stole. Um, I could put the spin on it that we're paying homage or we're influenced by. And those are true, but if we're just being honest, we stole it. Our vignettes, you can see that like
Yep.
our camera shakes
Yeah.
and like that's all ECW inspired, and when we get those fans that have the keen eye that see that, it makes us so happy because it's like that's what we were going for. So when you see somebody that was like on the Mount Rushmore of ECW pass away, it hits you really hard.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I remember growing up here in Brooklyn, and I talked about it in the interview with Gary Wolf. I watched ECW on the Madison Square Garden network. I watched ECW on the then Nashville network. And when I was in school, one of the matches that I got from buying tapes, which was a VHS, as I must have been like, 10, 11 years old. We're talking, around the time of the year 2000 or so. And that was me watching Sabu versus Taz. I mean, that was one of the matches.
Oh, what a
Yeah,
feud.
yes. I mean, that was one of the matches. Then I also had on that VHS, and I never forget it. The VHS was in a blue thing. You open the VHS, it had those plastic cases, I guess, or your plastics, and it was a blue VHS. And my friend had burned all these things he had, and the other matches were Rob Van Dam and Sabu as a tag team on this. So I remember it very well, watching those matches on a VHS and watching that, and that's how I, started really following ECW. And, like I said, I knew a little bit about it a few years earlier on the Madison Square Garden Network. But I mean, this is a loss to me. I mean, this is a guy that, again, changed the game. I mean, he was mainstream, but he stayed true to who he was. I mean, this was a guy that definitely, he didn't try to do anything to fit in. He didn't try to change his style. And his career, you look at it, I mean, he wrestled practically in every promotion. He was in Impact. He was in ECW, most certainly. WCW, he had a stint in there. The WWE, he had a stint in there. MLW, he had a stint in there. I mean, we just saw him in GCW. He was in Japan. I mean, this was a guy that really, he traveled. I mean, this was just the definition. And what a last few days for ECW. The man that I interviewed was an AEW Rhino. We had Gary Wolf here, who today also just announced the Pitbulls are reforming. And then, Sabu dies. I mean, what a wild time to be living these last few days.
It is. I'm so grateful that you said VHS, because when we had talked about like what would you like to say about Sabu, I was thinking of when I was a kid, before the internet, before social media, and there were all of these. He was one of the most infamous, like, talked about wrestlers. I don't know if you had ever heard this rumor as a kid, but I was told that there are a lot of states that he's not legally allowed in because he's too extreme.
I think I do remember them mentioning that on commentary.
Yeah, and I believe that for probably longer than I should have. But like, that's what you heard about Sabu. And then you hear stories of him like breaking his jaw mid-match and then just taping it up himself and going back in. And then you kind of believe it.
Yeah.
Because it's like you can see it. Or like when he tore his, like, what was it, his leg, like his tendon with the barbed wire, and Fonzie like taped him up. Like,
Bill Alfonso, yes.
Insane. Like, you can't make that up.
Yeah, I mean, what he put his body through, I mean, you think about certainly all the injuries that this man could have been the walking definition of the game operation. And, this is one of those guys. And unfortunately, in the wrestling world, it's all too often that we talk about these deaths that wrestlers seem to, unfortunately, their shelf life is not as long as some of the other sports. And this is another one to me. It reminds me of, Scott Hall dying. That was another one a few years ago that definitely hit home. I think about just all the deaths in wrestling that it's, Roddy Piper, you always post about him on Facebook. I remember where he was. Where I was when I remember where I was when he died. And to me, Sabu is going to be another one of those. Unfortunately, it's just far too often that we're losing. Bam Bam Bigelow was another one that I remember where I was when he passed away. Another local guy, ECW, most certainly WWF. And I mean, listen, in Gary Wolf's book, which I have right here, I mean, he lists all the deaths of people that he wrestled with. It's kind of sad. I mean, it was Chris Candido, he mentions in the book, Balls Mahoney, who he tag teamed with. I mean, it's just a New Jack. I mean, it's just a list. And these guys that, you thought that they would be invincible. These guys that just you thought would live till the end of time. Unfortunately, they're going way too soon. And Sabu, to me, is just one of those names. I equate this one to me. We do a lot of music on here. I remember where I was October 6th, 2020, when Eddie Van Halen died. And I remember exactly where I was. I was on a walk. I was actually walking. I was walking off Victory Boulevard, right off going toward North Cannon Avenue. Then I'm listening to the radio and I hear something about Eddie Van Halen. And I'm going to remember the same thing here today on this date, May 10th, 2025, where Sabu, he goes way too soon. I woke up, I took a nap, and at 1:07 p.m., I look up and I see Facebook, and this is a man that I really would have thought should be in the Hall of Fame, and I hope that this is a wake-up call and a message to the WWE that Sabu should be in the Hall of Fame. And a lot of these guys that are in ECW that certainly laid the foundations for ECW and what we have today in modern wrestling should all be in the Hall of Fame. And I think Sabu, I hope that this is a message to put him in the Hall of Fame next year. But,
Absolutely.
yeah. Yeah, and Judo Jones says Gary Wolf was an interesting card. Yeah, I'll get to him in a little while. We'll get to that. But again, Sabu passes away here at the age of 60, just gone way too soon. And this should be a message for people. Say goodbye. Say that you love your loved ones. Say always goodbye, and say, just thank everybody, and be humble, and just go out there and be grateful for what you have, because Sabu's gone. Who would have thought that this man we just saw in the ring last month? We saw him in AEW not that long ago. We've seen this man all over the place, and now he's gone. I mean, really, this should be a message for people that you're not guaranteed anything. There's nothing that's certainly, you're not going to live forever. And unfortunately, this man is gone way too soon. And definitely want to give thoughts and prayers to Rhino, who was on here. Obviously, that was the interview that cemented the platform. And obviously, the man that was here just 48 hours ago, Gary Wolf, who Gary and I actually talked about Sabu off the air. What a sad irony here. We actually talked about it. We didn't really talk about him a lot in the interview, but definitely one where the good die too young, and but Sabu will definitely be up there with a lot of those ECW legends. And 24 years later, ECW is still, people talk about it and they still reminisce. In fact, before we get into the WVWF talk, they had a show at the ECW arena last weekend, and Shane Douglas and Gary Wolf teamed together. Who would have thought that would have happened, especially if you know their history? But yeah, they teamed together. They had a tribute show at the arena, and I think he was actually there, Sabu, at the arena. I don't think he wrestled, obviously, but I think he came up because Super Crazy was there. A bunch of the ECW guys were there, but we'll definitely get into that in a little while. But thoughts and prayers, unless you want to say anything else on Sabu. Anything else you want to say about him?
No, I think you covered it, and I think you said the most important thing. Don't take every day for granted. You
No,
you said it beautifully.
Just it's unfortunately I've done a lot of these over the years, and I get asked, and well, before we do go in the, I was in a Jewish funeral because I do a news show in Wednesdays, and my co-host is a man, Heshi Tischler, and his mother-in-law died, and we were sitting there in this big. It's weird. The women sit at one. Women have to go one entrance. The men have to go the other entrance. And I was listening to these different speakers as I'm sitting all the way in the back, and it kind of reminds me of what I'm going to say here about Sabu and other people, is that you just try to make the most of what you have. Try to make memories with those around you. There's no reason in holding in any negativity or hate. And, this woman, breaks her hip, and all of a sudden they think she's going to go home, and she dies in Maimonides hospital here in Borough Park, Brooklyn. And I'm listening to the different speakers and how this woman, she shopped for all these people, and she went out and she loved life. And Sabu, in a way, is kind of like this woman. I mean, of course, she's an 87-year-old woman, but Sabu loved life. He loved his fans. He loved going out there and performing these death-defying stunts. He was almost like the Evel Knievel of the wrestling world. He just kept going out there. He was a true daredevil. Guys like that, they go out there for the love of it. We talk all the time on this platform about wrestlers putting their blood, sweat, and tears out there. And Sabu is the walking definition of somebody that has put their blood, sweat, and tears out there for all of us to be here today, whether it's in law, whether it's in the WVWF, whether it's in IMF, whether it's in anywhere that you wrestle. It's guys like Sabu that put their blood, sweat, and tears out there to give us those opportunities. One of the true founding fathers of this movement, of this alternative hardcore movement. And that's why it's sad. That's why I go back to this woman, Margaret Fernhoff, 87 years old, because in a way, she was like, I know, crazy, a Jewish woman from Brooklyn, but she really loved people. She went out there. She didn't think about herself. She always went to all these plays. I'm listening to it. And I think that's what I appreciate about life. And I appreciate people like Sabu, who went out there and made a difference for our community. I always say it all the time in my political career. We always talked about all the people I represented, whether it was Heshi Tischler, whether it was Senator Golden. We always represent the community. It's always about making a difference in the community. And this Sabu, what he did, he made a difference for us, and forever he will be in our hearts. We will certainly honor his legacy here on Sportswire Radio. We were thinking of Rhino. We are thinking of certainly Pitbull Gary Wolf. We will carry on because Sabu would want us to, which is why Courtney Wood, I want to talk to you now. Let's go. Let's go nice and easy because I don't want to go into Wyatt Black right away. Because yes, was something.
I was actually going to say a segment, or not a segment, a segue between the two. My kid, Michael McMoney II, does Sabu's triple jump moonsault with the chair.
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the things that, like, Wyatt Black gets pissed off about. But, like, we can see a kid that's 13, 14 still influenced by Sabu.
Yeah,
so,
listen,
his legacy today.
Yeah, Gary talks about it in his book. There are people now that's their grandparents, their kids, and then their kids. They come out and they watch and they know all the ECW guys. Sabu's an example, right? Really, he's been out of the mainstream. I know he's done a couple different things here and there. He had the aborted ECW WWE themed run like 20 years ago. But if you really think about all those guys in ECW, Sandman, right? We think about RVD, although RVD certainly did go mainstream, but we think about Raven, we think about Tommy Dreamer, we think about Balls Mahoney, the Dudleys, the Eliminators, the Pitbulls, certainly we think about all those names, New Jack, God rest his soul. We think about all those different people, Spike Dudley, everybody that was a part of ECW, Bam Bam Bigelow, rest his soul, Francine, just incredible. Although Beulah. Yeah, we think about everybody that's Chris Candido, rest his soul, Shane Douglas, all those different people that have been a part of ECW. People talk about it like it was yesterday. Think about that, 24 years ago in the niche. That's why you see kids so influenced by people that they weren't even a twinkle in the eyes of the world. They weren't in an apple of their parents' eyes and minds, and yet that's the influence that people like Sabu have, and I think that that's going to carry on for decades and generations, and we will certainly carry his legacy here on Sportswire Radio, and I will definitely also mention that he was, oh, by the way, the nephew of the Sheik. Also that too. Sabu, he had quite a legacy. He definitely had a lot to live up to, and he did an amazing job, and WWE Hall of Fame, hope they put him in next year, but we will certainly carry on and talk about things. I will not talk about Wyatt Black yet because I want to start things nice and easy because I could do it, but I'm going to wait because I know we're obviously still in the mood. I know the chat wants to give their Sabu stories. We'll certainly do that. But we have a match already announced here in Legit Alternative Wrestling, and it's called Aftermath, the show. It's going to take place 2 weeks from tomorrow. And I wanted to ask your opinions on that, Courtney Wood, for those that are listening and watching here in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage. What can we expect when La El Shaddai defends that Legit Alternative Wrestling Championship against Matt Vengeance and the man that was here that won that battle royal, the hype man himself, Mr. Dan Lasers?
What a cluster, it was a terrible situation. The feud between Pav and McMoney just really spilled over into business, with McMoney making the battle royal for the number one contendership, and then Pav making the triple threat for the number one contendership. So at the end of Cease and Desist, we had two number one contenders. So, what do you do? And these two were at each other's throats. So the people that would make that decision can't agree on anything. So I personally, I feel bad for Dan Lasers. I feel bad for Matt Vengeance. They were both told, you go out there, you win a match, you get to be number one contender. And they did. They both won their match. They put in the work. They did what they were supposed to do, and then because these two idiots can't get on the same page, it's their title contention is like up in the air. So the three-way dance, I feel, is like the most fair, because I don't know what other options we could have had. So
So
I'm
how do you think
excited.
this plays out in the match, though? How do you think that both men wanted the shot? Lasers sort of talked about it when he was here in his cameo spot. Vengeance was set up in Novak's spot. He wins. So how do you think that these two men put that aside to try to win the legit alternative wrestling championship 2 weeks from tomorrow on Memorial Day?
Well, I think this really suits Matt Vengeance, who is very much in the style of ECW. Every time I've seen him, he's brought out the skewers. More violence, I think, is just right up his alley. With Hype Man, he's going to have to rely on his like cardio and his, resilience and that just unbreakable spirit in order to survive people like Shaddai and Mad Vengeance. So all three of these men have their work cut out for them, definitely.
Would you say of the two, let's go first for the challengers, is there one that has an advantage over the other that could potentially unseat La El Shaddai?
I would have, if I were to bet, I
Yes.
would have to give the advantage to Matt Vengeance. Only because he is violent and diabolical, just like Shaddai is.
Mm.
So it's kind of like fighting fire with fire. Whereas Dan is just one of the most upbeat, happy people, and I would hate to see him sink to those levels to face somebody like Shaddai. Like we saw it with Godric, and I don't
I'm
want to
going to talk
see that
about him in a few
happen.
minutes. We're going to talk about him in a few
Yeah,
minutes.
I don't want to see that happen to the Hype Man.
Let me ask you, though, also, could you say that because Dan Lasers, he's really doesn't quite yet have the experience? He hasn't been here very long in law and in period. His experience is very little. Maybe that's going to be a bit of a hindrance here, especially in a match, and especially a match with one where La El Shaddai's in it. That could certainly be something that maybe catches up with him a bit. What's your thoughts on that?
That always could be a factor, but Shaddai and Vengeance don't know what to expect when they're facing the Hype Man. So if you have to say it goes one way, you have to admit that it goes the other. I don't anticipate, or I don't imagine Shaddai watching tape on anybody, but Matt Vengeance probably does. And if there's not that much on Dan Lasers, he doesn't know what he's getting in the ring with either. So
Let me ask you another question here, and we saw this play out a bit with Tommy Horror and La El Shaddai. How do you think that this will impact the match here coming up on Memorial Day?
that was so shocking. Shaddai, to my knowledge, I don't think I've ever seen Shaddai even touch the LAW Heavyweight Championship belt. It was always with Tommy. And for the first time ever, Shaddai took the title from Tommy and held it like it actually mattered to him. And that's surprising. And then for him to choke out Tommy was surprising. Um, I have no idea what's going on there. I'm scared because the only thing holding us back from Shaddai was Tommy. And if Tommy doesn't have control over him, it's bad.
So wouldn't that
And
though certainly be a hindrance then for Mr. Vengeance and Mr. Lasers, because they're gonna get La El Shaddai, and especially after what he did to Tommy Horror, I would have to think that that could spell doom and gloom for those two for any chances that they have to win the LAW championship.
that is a great point. We've seen the carnage that Shaddai has, created in check. What's going to happen if he's not? I don't know. I'm probably gonna have to get myself a bodyguard or something. I don't know. I
Well,
don't know
you
if it
are
should be.
going to certainly unleash your vengeance here, figuratively and literally, in a few minutes. I'm going to get there to that. But let me ask you, though, another question. And it's not with a man that's in this match, but a man that was the last person to have wrestled La El Shaddai. And that is Godric Sandwell. I had famously asked Michael McMoney Sr. about if Godric Sandwell doesn't win the LAW championship at cease and desist, could he ever win the big one? Will he ever be a world heavyweight champion? Well, he didn't win the big one. And what do you think is where Godric Sandwell goes from here after losing once again here and not winning the LAW championship? Where do you think Godric Sandwell goes from here?
I'm really afraid to even consider that. He came into that situation with such a noble cause to avenge Pepper Pride. And then he gets drug into the depths of the hell that Tommy Horror created. And he was not successful. And we could see a lot of subtle changes in
Gentleman
Godric.
in the blue coat. We saw Daniel Tafua came here. Godric's tone, his last two appearances were definitely not the Godric Samuel that I've been used to seeing, whether it's been in Express Wrestling and other places. This was definitely supposed to be the moment that Godric wins it. Everything was set up. It was a traditional wrestling match. Championship can change hands on a disqualification or a count out. Everything was set up for Godric Sandwell to win here less than 2 weeks ago. But yet Godric Sandwell once again doesn't win a world championship. And you just have to ask yourself, is Godric Sandwell ever going to win the big one? And I mean, if he couldn't win it here, how and when and where could he win anything?
That's so mean.
But the facts are what they are. I mean, listen.
I know.
I know it's tough for everybody. Listen, Timothy Titan was saying, Godric's got this. McMoney, Godric's got this. Everybody. I mean, it was almost near unanimous. Godric's going to win this. Godric's got it. But he didn't win it. And you just have to ask yourself, there are certain guys in this sport or just in sports in general. I talked about it last time here on the show with McMoney Sr. Listen, Dave Jameson didn't even want to talk about it. But you have to ask yourself, is Godric Sandwell one of those guys that can't win the big one?
I still have all the faith in the world in Godric Sandwell. His time will come. Hopefully, he dusts himself off and he learns from this and
It's
he
tough to
puts
go back
everything
down the ladder, though. It is very tough in this sport to go back down the ladder. There are guys, listen, we saw it famously, WrestleMania 10, Lex Luger. It was set up for Lex Luger to beat Yokozuna, and he couldn't do it. He had the match won, and Mr. Perfect wouldn't count, and Lex Luger's career in WWF was never the same. I've had guys on here in this platform from different places that couldn't win a championship, and they were yesterday's news. Godric's a fantastic competitor. He's one of the best, pound for pound. Kings and Queens magazine, I believe, has him number 3 right now. I mean, Godric, we know, can go. But sometimes it's very difficult for guys to get over the mountain. We were talking about sports. The San Francisco 49ers lose 2 Super Bowls in 4 years. They go to 4 championship games in 5 years. We talked about the Buffalo Bills here in New York, the New York Knicks. They go to the NBA Finals twice in 5 years. They go to the conference finals 4 times in 7 years. They go to the second round 10 straight years. Still couldn't win it. They just couldn't win it. There are teams, there are guys in this sport that we all love that can't win a championship. And Godric Sandwell, right now, he's staring at that possibility that he's one of those guys that may not win the big one. McMoney Sr.'s words were, it's not a no, but it's a not yet. But it's very, very difficult in this sport to go back down from the bottom and work your way up. Very hard in this sport.
That's true. But people also said that about Jeff Hardy, Daniel Bryan, Kofi Kingston, just recently Cody Rhodes.
Well, I mean, Godric Sandwell, he's got his work cut out for him here in LAW. He has got his work cut out for him. And, I think people would like to see Godric win the big one. And he's going to be here actually right after Aftermath. He's here the next day after. And hopefully the aftermath for Godric Sandwell might be he's back on track. But for now, his future with an LAW World Heavyweight Championship, it's not yet. And that's something that nobody can disagree with. Right now, it's not yet. It doesn't mean it's a no permanently, but it's not yet. And it's tough. It's very tough. It's just tough in this sport. It's tough in sports in general. Listen, I've interviewed a lot of athletes. I've had guys on that have played in the playoffs in sports. I had Mark Gubizar, who won a World Series on the platform years ago. I had Glendon Rush, pitched in the World Series for the Mets a long time ago. It's very difficult sometimes. And I hope Godric, it's not yet rather than a no. But right now, his future remains to be unseen coming up on Aftermath.
Well, he's always been an underdog. I've known him for years. Him even being in the ring was a huge task, So if there is anybody that can dust themselves off and climb their way back up, it's 100% going to be Godric. We saw that in Berg Brawl, where he entered number 1 and outlasted everybody and won back the Three Rivers Championship that he should have never lost in the first place.
Yep.
He has the endurance, he has the heart, he has the talent. Whatever's not clicking will click soon. And I can't wait to see it. No one deserves it more than him.
Well, we're going to find out, but before we do anything else, I'd like to give a plug to our friends in LAW. They have a YouTube channel. If you'd like to watch some of their previous content, some of it is up there. They have 151 subscribers, so they're moving up the YouTube ladder. So give them a sub. I see a lot of people here in the chat. We're going to get to everybody in about 10 or 15 minutes. I want to talk about a few other things in LAW before I transition to where Courtney's going to really, let's just say, open up her powder here from her keg. And we'll certainly get into that. But please hit the sub button for LAW. LAW is quickly become one of our favorite things to talk about here on Sportswire Radio, and they definitely do carry on the spirit of ECW. And who knows? I hear from a grapevine. I hear from a birdie. Well, I actually hear from the man himself. The Pitbull Gary Wolf is looking for bookings, and maybe the powers that be at LAW might want to book the Pitbulls to come into LAW because the Pitbulls are back. It's a new Pitbulls, and Gary's got Pitbull number 2 alongside him. So maybe the powers that be that are here might want to give Gary a call and book the Pitbulls to an LAW show. That would be one for the ages. But we'll get to that at a different time. Speaking of LAW, I did want to ask you, because Dave Jamieson was here last Sunday, and more of a happier note for you. I do want to ask you about Dave Jamieson, because Dave Jamieson finally got his payback on Timothy Titan. It was also Timothy Titan's final match of his career, and certainly you have a lot to say on that. And I wanted to ask you your thoughts on Dave Jamieson and Timothy Titan, and what do you think the future will be for Dave Jamieson here in LAW?
Those two destroyed each other. And given everything that had happened between them, it was no surprise. I don't know if you saw the picture, but Tim posted a picture of his back afterwards. Day got him. It was really bad. Day got all of the revenge on Tim Titan that he had seeked, and he walked away with I think he calls it Goldie, or I don't know, but his USWA Keystone State Championship. I could not be more proud of that kid. I'm so happy that he was able to get some of the revenge back that he had seeked. Unfortunately, Day will be Day, and on the pre-show he said, exactly.
What do you think about that? I mean, is that maybe too much, too soon, or what do you think there?
I feel like this whole thing's been ill-advised the whole time, just because of the kind of person Tim is. Mm-hmm. But you're not going to talk Day out of it. And when somebody hurts you like that, logic's not going to play. So if Day's going to take out Bro, I believe him. I will not bet against Day in that situation. And that's crazy considering that that's the Gigabyte Grizzly. Bro is huge. He is a monster. He is every high, like, he's insane. But when you have a pissed off but focused Day Jameson, you're an idiot if you bet against him.
But would you say that maybe Day Jameson should focus on a different direction instead? I mean, I understand he wants payback. I understand that that's still on his mind. Very understandable. But I mean, after finally doing what he did to Timothy Titan, finally getting a dose of payback, this has been something that's been talked about here for weeks on Sportswire. This was a feud that was months in the making. We also know the history that Timothy Titan and Day Jameson had. They talked about it here on Sportswire. You're talking about that he knew Timothy Titan, I think, for what, 8 years or something like that? You're talking about a long time. You're talking about almost a decade. So really, this was a decade in the making. So you finally get one over, and you end a man's career that you've known for almost half your life. But why go so soon in somebody like a Brohemoth? I mean, just is that something you would agree with, or what's your thoughts on that?
I don't agree with it, but I understand it. Day came so close to not only losing his career, but losing his life.
Yep.
And now that, fortunately, that didn't happen, now he can go and avenge that and make his, I don't want to say second chance, but make that count for something, you know. And I feel like that's, if he doesn't, that'd be something that would haunt him.
Understood.
And it'd be something that would be like in the back of his mind, and that could take you down just as easily, you know. That could take out your mental, and whatever he needs to put the situation behind him and move forward and do things like be crazy enough to challenge Lee Moriarty, because that match would be incredible.
What did you think about that? I mean, he wants Lee Moriarty. He talked about this here on Sports. I put the clip on TikTok and Instagram. I mean, it did get some reactions. A lot of people viewed the clips on TikTok. I think I got like 300 views, and Instagram was about the same. I mean, people, they watched the clip. I mean, it remains to be seen if Lee Moriarty should come on Sportswire and address Day Jameson. You know, I think, you know what, I'm going to go further, right? Because Rhino's been here, Savio Vega's been here, and, you know, this guy, Pitbull, Gary Wolf's been here. You know, I mean, obviously, Mr. Wolf, he's a fan of the platform. In fact, both Pitbulls are fans of the platform. I mean, maybe Lee Moriarty should come on here and address Day Jameson. Maybe he should come on here and talk about that. I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, you know, I would think at this point that would be a good idea on his part.
Oh, absolutely. I've seen Lee throughout his entire career. I was around when he was training, and if you ever watch him on TV and the crowd goes, Lee, 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 and he kind of like, I started that.
I knew you were going to say you had the chant.
I started that in McKeesport years and years ago. So when I call myself the BME, it's stuff like that, because I was the first one to do that. So I love Lee. That when you go to shows, you have guys that you want to succeed. And then you have guys like Lee that you just know are going to. And when he got signed to AEW, like, it was just, it made all the sense in the world.
Sure.
So hopefully he would come on your platform. Hopefully, you know, me being greedy, I would love to see that match. It would be incredible. Like, I'd be front row right there.
You know what, Day? He certainly demanded it. I don't know if Mr. Moriarty will give it to him, but I would certainly love to see it. And I think that Day Jameson is definitely one of the up-and-comers. Let me ask you, though, one question, follow-up on Timothy Titan, and then I want to ask you about the new Indie Division champion, Pepper Pride, and I'll get to the chat. I know a lot of people want to talk about that. But how do you think you'll remember Timothy Titan's career? I mean, Day talked about, in a way, it was, I guess he was happy to be his last opponent, but because of what happened, took away a little bit of just what it would have meant. But how will you remember Timothy Titan and his in-ring career?
I will remember him being one of like the hardest working and entertaining people. No disrespect, but he's not a very big guy. So he is one of those that relied on his personality.
He was a
And
grinder. Grinded.
whenever he was there, like whenever he passed through the curtain, his time out there maximized every moment, and he was usually at the top of the most entertaining. Um, there were guys out there that would put on like 5 star or whatever, but you would go home talking about what shenanigans Tim Titan caused. Or you would just be bored on social media and Tim would release like a rap video and it would just be the most funny, entertaining
You think
things.
he has better
And
rap skills than Dave Jameson?
uh yeah. Sorry, Day. Uh
Put you
I'm
on the
not
spot there, right? Put you on the
oh,
spot.
that was I was definitely on the spot there. But I think his commitment to entertaining and doing the best like that he could, I think that should be Tim's legacy.
Yeah, I think there's no question that his career, even though we've only known him a short time, I think it's a very important career because it's guys like that that lay the foundations for those that are coming up, and it's men like him that are what you'd call scrappy. Those are guys that grind it out, and you need more people like that around. And it's guys like that that make things a lot more interesting. And I will certainly have some comments from which I'll get to in a few minutes, which I'll certainly address, and maybe we'll certainly entertain it. But I did want to ask you in an LAW not of business, Pepper Pryor, new Indie Division champion. A lot was made of that match. And Daniel Tafua certainly made quite a bit of noise about that championship. He was here, and we saw what happened there. And I was curious what your thoughts on our Pepper Pride being the first ever Indie Division champion here on behalf of Legit Alternative Wrestling. What's your thoughts on that?
Could not have happened to a better, hardworking, so full of potential superstar than Pepper Pride. I mean, seeing her with a championship just looks right. She went in there and she did not back down. She walked right up to the Soul Taker, punched him. Like she earned that championship, and I could not be prouder of her. It was amazing to watch. I kind of figured the Tafua Soul Taker beef would get involved. Um, so if it had to go to anybody other than Tafua, I'm super glad that it went to Pepper. Look at
I
that.
think
See
I
that
put the
just
photo
looks
up. I knew my business. Here's the championship. There's Pepper, and she definitely looks straight out of Central Casting. And there's no question that she's been making a lot of noise in the independents. I just saw her with the Boogeyman not too long ago on Instagram, and again, she's a
yeah,
protege.
how cool is that?
I mean, you never know in the wrestling world. In fact, I'll put the poster up here right of it. Pepper's on Instagram. Check her out. She's got a lot of followers on Instagram, and there she is. She's right there with the Boogeyman, who, by the way, I mean, he hasn't aged a day. I mean, the guy looks
No,
literally the same. I mean, the man is like literally, I mean, he looks like he could still go out there and other than eat worms and wrestle a thing or two. But there he is. I mean, just that seems right. I mean, Pepper Pride is definitely somebody that's an up and coming talent, and no, that's not Wyatt Black, but obviously you see some of the stuff she's been a part of, and it's amazing what she's up to, and she's the definition of a working wrestler, and there you go. Yep, you can see her there with Brohemoth from LAW, and you can see some of the stuff that she's got, and it's definitely grit to glory. IWR, she's comes from a protege of Rhino. I talk about that all the time, and my old friend James Fury, and
oh, there's Layla.
yeah, she's.
That
I
was
just.
her with Layla James.
Yep, yep. There you
There
go. I
she
mean,
is.
There you go.
Look at those two beautiful women. That picture was taken in the LAW parking lot.
Well, there you go. I
Look at
mean, you just never know who's out there, and I mean, just yeah, I mean, just the future is bright, and obviously, she's the new indie division champion and great representative, no question of it. And congratulations to Pepper, and I think that she'll do wonders with the championship. And a lot of people know her. She has a big following on Instagram, and she's been in a lot of different places, as you can see. And the best is yet to come. And there you go. There's her on Instagram. She's got the blue check mark, which I actually have on X, and she's got it on Instagram. So takes two to tango. But yeah, I think she's going to do great wonders with it. And I think that we're in good hands with the Indie Division Championship.
Absolutely. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better inaugural champion. What I truly respect about Pepper, aside from her like commitment to get better, is she's building herself up like equally. She's working hard in the ring. She's a manager. She's all of these different things. So she's becoming extremely well-rounded.
Working every
Like,
weekend, you see her everywhere. Yep.
Yeah, she is a force. I can't wait to see what all she does. Like, there's nothing but brightness ahead for her. I can't say enough good things about her.
The best is yet to come, and I will make a prediction here on the platform before we do get to the check. I know a lot of people want to talk to you. She will be in the PWI. She will be ranked this year. That's my prediction. My prediction will be that she will be ranked this year in the women's PWI. That's my prediction.
I hope so. It's so cool that we even have a women's PWI.
I don't know what took them so long. You know, by the way, Gary Wolf, he did not like the PWI 500. So I mean, he had no love for the Pro Wrestling Illustrated. He was just saying that guy Mike Quackenbush. He was going. I can say it now because he said Mike Quackenbush. He doesn't know what that guy. Yeah, he didn't like me. He didn't like the Pitbull. So maybe the PWI was. They just were not with the times, but now they are. And yeah, it's been long overdue. The women definitely should have. They should just blend it in all together. Let the men and the women be ranked. I think that's what they really should do. But let's just go with Gary Wolf's thoughts, and he doesn't really care about the PWI. But some people do. But we care about Courtney Wood's opinions, and I care about you in the chat. You've been waiting almost an hour to get your thoughts in. I am going to give you that opportunity right now. Zilla is here first, and she wants to say hello to everybody. I want to say happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. Happy Mother's Day to my mother, who's not listening to this right now, but she once in a while listens to it. She tells me I should just have only heavy metal bands. No, I'm only kidding. She likes certain shows. She likes LAW shows, IMF shows, but she certainly was telling me I should get on Megadeth. I got to get on Metallica. I'm like, all right, well, slow down here. Let me work one day at a time. But I know you're going to certainly have something to say about him in about 15 minutes. I'm saving that for after we get through the chats. But yeah, we're gonna get to him. Don't you worry. We're gonna get to him, and that name is Wyatt Black, who was victorious, by the way, at Cease and Desist. He defeated Soda Pop Jones, which he talked about it, and he did talk about it. He was very successful. He's on a winning streak right now. I mean, I'm gonna get to him though, but I'm gonna get to that in a little bit. We're gonna get to that in a little bit. But speaking of people that are here, Judo Jones,
Judo.
The artist.
Zilla, you are too nice. You are too nice of a human being.
Well, speaking of people that are very nice, but they don't look nice, and they're the counterparts of you guys in LAW in the Midwest, Mr. Ox McCoy, who I am sure put on a match that Sabu and Gary Wolf would be envious of between him and Kato. Kato is another guy I was talked about here with LAW, the controversial one, Kato. Get it? The controversy king. He's the controversial one. Then there's Anthony Steele, the most controversial figure in wrestling history. But I can assure you, Wyatt Black's background, his resume, still doesn't compare to Steele and Kato. I mean, Steele and Kato are big, big names. But in the meantime, what a beautiful Mother's Day. It was beautiful here in Brooklyn. It was like, oh my goodness. If my allergies weren't a problem, it was beautiful here in Brooklyn. It was I could have walked around all day. But nevertheless, we'll get to Judo Jones. Hello to Ox McCoy. Yep, how's everybody doing? Hello, hello, hello. My guest yesterday, the legendary Silas Walker, the general manager of our friends in DBW, and he has a few things to say. And Silas is one of my favorites. He was in your chair yesterday, and we had quite a conversation. We talked about screw jobs. We talked about championships and being a general manager. We talked about Triple H, how he's the Triple H of his company. And I won't ask you thoughts on that, but I will get to the chat. He's here, Godric Sandwell, and salutations to all and Miss Popular. Godric's back here, right? He's back here the day after Aftermath. We're actually getting the aftermath of LAW. Get it? Figuratively and literally, we're getting the aftermath with Godric Sandwell. Hopefully it'll be a good aftermath for Mr. Sandwell. And yes, rest in peace to Sabu. Sabu was definitely that was a tough one today. That was I would say that was a tough loss. There's deaths in wrestling that, maybe you go and say, my thoughts and prayers, but then there's Sabu. To me, like I said, it's up there with Roddy Piper. It's up there for me with Bam Bam Bigelow. It's up there with Scott Hall. It's up there with New Jack. I mean, there's certain people that are no longer with us, and Sabu's definitely one of those guys that definitely it hits you in the gut. It's because it's somebody that we all watched and thought would be here forever. Yes, definitely. Rest in peace to Sabu. Sending my thoughts and prayers and my condolences to his family, friends, wrestlers, and fans. Yeah, good point and well stated. Thank you, Zilla. Hello to Godric Samuel. Speaking of people doing their own impressions of Sabu without even knowing it, that was yesterday, the hall monitor of Sportswire Radio, the first real wrestler, Mr. Justin Parsley. Yes, that really is him. Always throws steel chairs, and credit for seeing that from Sabu. Rest in peace, Sabu. It's very well stated, actually. I think a lot of people were influenced by Sabu. Definitely, no question about it. He was, by the way, if you care about the PWI 500, he was number 5 in 1995, I believe. He was ranked number 5. He was number 5 and number 9 in 1996. He was actually, that was a big deal. ECW guy ranked that high. And hello to Justin Parsley. An honor. Haven't seen Remy Roberts here in a while. TPW Change of Fortune champion. Congratulations. Nice to see you. Dave Jameson, who we spoke a lot about. By the way, if I could, my thoughts and prayers today. His grandfather passed away. I want to give my thoughts and prayers to Dave Jameson, if I could. Very, very sad to hear that. And I hope that Mr. Jameson is doing well. And I hope that we'll get him back on Sportswire soon. He was a really, what a show we had with him. Dave Jameson was just like the Energizer Bunny,
It's incredible.
He changed from 5 months. I had him 5 months ago. And it was, he was definitely, a talker. But now he's got the whole thing down. I mean, he's definitely in 5 months from now, we'll be lucky to even know him. He'll probably really get that match with Lee Moriarty somewhere in 5 months. Well, you better go see him in the Parkersburg 325 7th Street Richardson building in West Virginia. You better make sure you go out here in Aftermath coming up 2 weeks from tomorrow, because you don't know what the future will be with guys like Dave Jameson. You have a chance now, 325 7th Street, Richardson Building, Parkersburg, West Virginia. You're getting 2 chances here coming up, potentially. You're getting 2 chances here coming up in a span of 2 weeks. Gary Wolf was an interesting car ride. What did he say in the car ride? I could see that. I could definitely see that. Gary Wolf talked about it, giving Hulk Hogan steroids. He talked about giving Ron Simmons steroids. He did. In the interview, he talked about Hulk Hogan with steroids. He's talked about Ron Simmons with steroids. He lives an interesting life. Yes, he talked about it. It was on my TikTok. I posted the clip. It got like a lot of it went viral. I mean, I got like some followers for it. Thank you, Gary Wolf, for telling us you gave Hulk Hogan steroids and Ron Simmons. But I don't know if that's a good thing today. But he had it. Gary played cards with Andre the Giant. By the way, he played cards with Andre the Giant. His grandfather invented the poker machine. Gary Wolf had an interesting life. I could see that being an interesting car ride. Yep. Hello to Remy. Yep. Rip Sabu. His ability to use the ropes was unparalleled. That's a great point. His rope work. I mean, what he did. I mean, just really innovator, a true innovator. Hello to Day James. How you doing, Day? Sabu was a huge influence on me. I plan on paying homage in my next match coming up here next month. Yeah, Sabu. I mean, this is, like I said, this is a loss that I think with this community here, like that we have here on Sportswire, but I think for a lot of people, this one's going to hit more home than even like if it was a mainstream wrestler that passed away, because of just what he meant. inside and outside the ring. He meant a lot to people. We will forever point to the heavens. Good line, good analogy. Silas Walker chimes in. Sabu was one of the most beloved wrestlers amongst his own peers. He loved the business down in his bones. He got to do what he loved one last time before his time came. That was a good point. Somebody, I don't know if you're on Twitter, but on Twitter, somebody made that point that he at least got to have his final match, whereas wrestlers, a lot of them don't get to have that final match. And yet he got to have that final match. Think about Mr. Perfect didn't get to have it. Scott Hall didn't get to have it. Rick Rude didn't get Roddy Piper. You always post about him in your group. I mean, the Ultimate Wrestling group. I mean, you always, post about him. And
I love Roddy Piper. He is the best to ever
yeah,
do it, in my opinion.
Best on the mic, definitely best on the mic. And you could say, where would Hulk Hogan be if it wasn't for Roddy Piper? Think about that. Think about Roddy Piper. And Bret Hart talks about Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper made Bret Hart. That was Bret Hart's biggest win of his career up at that point. So yeah, Sabu was definitely one of those guys that did at least get to have his final match. The nephew of one of my all-time favorites, which I referenced, the Sheik, and one of the most innovative offensive styles we've ever seen. Very well said. Very well said. Speaking of people that are here, Doc Holliday, the legendary Doc Holliday, the Riot in the Ring winner last year. Hello to everybody. Hello, hello. And let me get to this. I have a dear friend who was in ECW by the name of Luke Hawks. Okay. He loved Sabu, and of course, being an ECW guy, he worked with Sabu. I never got to meet him, but everyone I know in the business adored him. Yeah, I think that's what his legacy. I think that's the legacy you want to have. People remember you inside, but also outside the ring. And Sabu definitely did that. When I want to become a wrestler, the moves I want to use is Rampage and Black Widow. Okay, well, Wyatt Black's not using those moves, but we'll get to that in a bit. But
yeah, that's because they require talent.
Well, I did read your write-up about him, but I will leave that for about 10 more minutes because I still got a lot of comments to get through. What do you think about this? Things in LAW are going to change. He'll be making the decisions from now on. What do you think about Timothy Titan making so-called decisions from now on? What's your thoughts on that?
He always says stuff like that. Keep going.
Okay. Well, apparently Dave Jameson.
I tried to be, I gave him his flowers, and then he says stuff like that, and then he just reminds you that he's an asshole. So let's keep going.
Speaking of things I'm going to announce now, because maybe Timothy Titan will come on for that, but I do have on here coming up. Can I click on it? Now I can click on it. I can't. There we go. Technology is an interesting thing, but we have Maverick on here. The one and only Maverick is here tomorrow night, 9:00 Eastern time. And which one you'll get? Well, hopefully one that talks. But he'll be here to talk about the Ryan James Memorial, which we're going to get to here in a few minutes. We're going to talk about his career. We're going to talk about his own stories and join the conversation. But yeah, Maverick's going to be here 9:00 Eastern time. And clever poster there. He basically did my work for me, but I'll still do an announcement because that's how we do things here. But I'm sure you'll be tuned into that one. I would have no doubt that you'll definitely.
Pretty cool. I owe one of my coolest moments to Maverick. He was facing William Renee, and I have bullied William Renee for years. So when you guys all realize that William Renee is a scumbag, you're just catching up to where I'm at. But it was during their match, and Will was setting up like the makeshift table and the chairs and everything. And I'm like panicking. I'm like, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this. And Will just screams in my face about all the horrible things Maverick had done to him. Like, okay. And I'm like pleading with Will not to do it. And Maverick comes from behind and just kicks Will right in the balls and gives me a high five. And it was like the coolest moment.
Wow. Well, definitely. I'll be sure to remind him of that tomorrow. But I think you'll be here.
It was the closest I've ever came to being like a manager.
Wow. Well, maybe you'll certainly, you'll be responding to a few things here in a few minutes, which I'm sure we're all eagerly anticipating this. It's a good day, isn't it, guys? He used Dave Jameson's name. I don't know why he did, but he did. He apparently seems to have an eye on him. I'm not sure, but yes, sir. Courtney's lack of confidence in hype man Dan Lasers disappoints me.
Your twat not disappoints me, Tim Titan. You're retired. Shave it. You don't.
Next, we'll go to the next comment. Yes, next. And basically, Day Jameson said what you just said.
See,
I do
Day
wish
gets it.
Mr. Lasers all the best. He will need it. Mr. Sandwell would know better than anybody else.
I didn't mean anything negative by it. I love Dan. I think he's incredible. He won that battle royal fair and square. He is one. I was so excited to see him in LAW. Don't twist my words, Titan. Don't do that.
Fair, I mean, listen, to be objective, as we're here with Courtney Wood, of course, who does a lot of great things in the wrestling world. She's been featured in Slam Wrestling. She writes for great companies like Legit Alternative Wrestling, the West Virginia Wrestling Federation. You've seen her work before Express Wrestling. She also hosts the pre-shows for our friends at LAW. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. Your voice, figuratively and literally, with all music and wrestling rounds. But to be fair, I mean, it's a big jump. Listen, he's the hype man, but he's going to have to be more than hyped to go and try to take that championship away from La El Shaddai, especially, we talked about it a little while ago, the mood that he's in after what he did to Tommy Hara. And, Godric put him through a lot, and he's going to need a lot more than being hyped to win. That's all at 325 7th Street in Parkersburg, West Virginia on Memorial Day. I mean, it's just simple as that. He does need more than luck. Very true, God. Good. And see what I mean? That was exactly Day's words. Day didn't want to answer that question, but I asked you about Godric. He actually said that here last week, so I got to give him that. Day, you have beyond proved your point with me. I'm not here to troll. I come in peace.
Oh, yeah, because we're going to buy that Tim Titan's not a troll. Okay, sure. And I'm tall enough to reach stuff off the top shelves.
I mean, you know what?
No one buys it, Tim.
You might be, though. What do I know? Listen, people, you never know. He'll prove it to you that you can again. He wants to be trusted. I mean, I'm sure he'll tell us. One day, the gentleman will be on top. That day isn't just today, unfortunately, which is what he did say. To be fair, Michael McMoney Sr. did say that it's not no, but not yet. That was his words.
He likes to say that a lot.
Well, he's not wrong. And what's up, Pops? Nice to see you. And yes, we always love seeing our LAW continue. I think we're doing an LAW show. I think we're going to do it on the Friday is the 23rd, I think. We'll have a bunch of the LAW stars here. Do something. Looking forward to that.
That's cool.
Well, why not? Listen, we got to talk about it. We got to get the aftermath coverage, pre-math coverage. What do they call it before the aftermath? Is it the prelude? We'll call it the prelude to aftermath. There you go. A devil is an angel that fell from grace, and even this devil in a blue coat is not beyond redemption. Okay, clever words. That's the spirit, Mad Hater. I think he's talking about
Hatter, yeah.
That's so cool. She trusts both Godric Samuel and Timothy Titan. Interesting. I want to say hello to our friend. I want to say hello to my friend Blaze the Bingo Hall, who also does some interviewing. He interviewed a friend of the show, Ace Christian, recently, the Blaze Ace Christian. He's done some work with the guys in WDWA in West Virginia. He's also went to Enterprise Wrestling shows. So another guy that's making the rounds. So nice to see him here. And Young Lurch it is. And Remy Roberts never won a chip before now. And that's his point to Godric, that if he could win it, Godric could win it. Good point. Hey, kid, just being sad about Sabu. I just finished watching his last match, so I needed this to cheer me up. Timothy Titan being here is a downer, but hey, can't win them all, kid. Well, I'm sure you're going to be upset when I bring up Wyatt Black in about 5 minutes, but let's get through some more chats. Yeah, a lot of comments at least. It's, maybe, you waiting for an eager anticipation. Very true, Pops. Sad day, man. Sad day. Yeah, very sad day here in the world. What's the real deets about Legit Alternative Wrestling? Weekly events on Wednesdays and where? 325 7th Street, the Richardson Building in Parkersburg, West Virginia. And the next one coming up is on a Monday. Shows are usually on a Wednesday. How do you like that?
And we're going to have a big cookout in the parking lot. It's going to be a whole thing. We're so excited about this. We're partnering up with Battle on the Border. It's a really cool collaboration. We're going to see a lot of new faces. We're going to see so much cool things. The show's going to be like nothing we've ever done before. I can't wait.
Very nice. Who's doing the cooking?
That I don't know. Uh,
Maybe we'll find that out by next week. You think we'll find that out by next week? All right. Who
it'll
knows?
probably be Pav Novak in the parking lot with a grill and a beer.
I tell you what, I hope the weather cooperates and you have as beautiful as a day that we had here in New York City. In Brooklyn and Staten Island, you couldn't have asked for a better day, about 75 degrees outside, sun shining. I hope you get that same day here 2 weeks from now. And hit the
Thank
sub
you,
button for
guys.
our friend in LAW. Hell yeah, LAW. Yep, do that caps lock. And LAW shows are going to be back coming up starting this Saturday. And I can't wait to watch some because I'd like to watch some of this footage I've been talking about for a while. And yeah, well, you know what? I think we have some people here that might be able to give Mr. Gary Wolf a phone call or give him an email or give him a DM on Facebook. He is looking to get booked. And it's Timothy Titan, not Tim.
Shut up,
So,
Tim.
well, I
Settle
got
down,
Tim.
Timmy.
All right,
Okay, it was Goldilocks. I'm so sorry, Day.
We'll move on. The kid will get his back. The kid will get his back on that big fill in the blanks. Okay. If you want a
Yeah,
huge
that's talking
announcement
about Day beating down Brohemoth.
now, if you want a huge announcement tonight, let me know. Well, we always want announcements on Sportswire. No, you don't want it.
If Tim Titan crashes this interview, I will
I
never
won't.
come back.
All right, I won't have him come on, but if he would like to say a few words in the chat, he's welcome to. He can say it in the chat. We do believe in letting people speak in the chat, as long as you don't.
I'm the only person that does not need the gimmick of somebody else being on their interview. I don't need Hype Man Dan Lasers. I don't need Timothy Titan popping up to make myself seem more likable. I don't need Wyatt Black that's in every freaking episode for whatever reason.
Daniel Tafua has been here often.
This right here is enough.
Daniel Tafua has been here like 4 times in a week.
That's
Daniel,
okay. The candle thing when he appeared with Dave, that was cool. Other than that, they're all gimmicks. They're all.
I do like Tafua coming on. He's got something about him. He's definitely got something about him. Thanks, Timothy. Well, there you go. Announce that baby, and he does give you love. People are trying to turn a new cheek, and congratulations to Pepper Pride. Yes, I definitely agree. Pepper has been somebody that we talked about before LAW, and I should get Pepper Pride. I've spoken to Pepper actually. I won't. She's very one of those people that kind of wants to wrestle right now. She doesn't really do interviews. I spoke to her before LAW.
I know.
Not really an interview. Not really. I spoke to her before.
I tried to get her on the pre-show every single time, and she finds some reason not to, and it's such a shame because she is money. I was like, just come in, say I'm Pepper Pride, you're dismissed. Like any amount
get a lot of views on her. I think a lot of people, because she knows a lot of people like Sam El Jami that's been here, James Fury, Jack Delta in the backyard knows her. There's a lot of people that would want to see her here, but she really doesn't really do interviews. It's not about, not because she doesn't want to like or dislike somebody. She just doesn't do interviews. So, but she's doing great, and you never say never. Yeah, I agree with that. I think Pepper Pride is definitely going to be somebody that's going to be ranked in the PWI this year. You can basically you can book it. I said last month that I'd bring a title onto the platform. You did. Congratulations. I definitely happy for you. The best is yet to come. And Mickey Knuckles is another one. I know Mickey from POR and Jesse Daniels, but we'll say, listen, everybody wants me to get this person on. I've heard people tell me, my brother said, oh, I messaged Stone Cold and in one of his posts that he should come on here. Yeah, like Stone Cold's he's like, I said on Instagram, you've had Rhino on, you've had Savio Vega. He said yesterday or something. He posted on one of Stone Cold's videos on Instagram that he should come on this. Yeah, like Stone Cold's gonna come on here. Yeah, who knows? But we'll see. But what do you like about Mickey Knuckles? That's a good question. Mickey Knuckles is awesome, amazing, cool, and a great hard worker and a talented wrestler. Yeah, that checks all the boxes, right? Sending my thoughts and prayers to Dave Jameson. Yep, I agree. but she's just deathmatch. Her relevancy died with women's deathmatch wrestling. Somebody here is trying to be
How
facetious.
dare you disrespect Aunt Mickey? In all of the
Okay.
contributions that beautiful, talented woman has gifted us as a
I think
community. How
I
dare you?
I think he's trying to warm you up for Wyatt Black, knowing his humor. That's what I think. But we're gonna get there. We're almost there. You got a lot of comments tonight. I got stapled, skewered, weed whacked, and curb stomped into gusset plates yesterday. I just took my
Oh,
and I'm headed to bed for some much needed rest. Good night, Sportswire fan. Yeah, that definitely. You know what? I want to show his photo before he goes because on Instagram he posted this just so you have an idea of what Ox McCoy went through. I'm gonna show you, and no, it's not ketchup packets. No, it's not makeup from a stunt double that was in a movie. That's what he was from yesterday in his match with Kato, the controversial one, not to be confused with the Controversy King, but that's what he looked like from his match yesterday. That's what he looked like. That's
of
real.
course that didn't happen with a match with Wyatt Black. Wyatt Black's not tough enough to do that to a fully grown man.
Yeah, that's
That's
what he
why he
looks
has to pick on Ruku St. Helen.
like. Yeah, that's definitely kids. Don't try this at home. Whatever you do,
No.
don't try this at home because let the
Gusset
professionals.
plates, my God.
Yeah. I can't wait to watch that match. I'm sure that'll be a topic. Give it a few days, and hopefully, give him a few days, and maybe he won't be looking like this anymore. But get well soon, and thank you, Ox, and have a good night. Please sleep well, and hope you don't sleep with one eye open. To quote James Hetfield of Metallica and Enter Sandman. Yes, get some rest, Ox McCoy. Maverick is a man that is very accomplished, and he's gonna have a lot to say tomorrow night. He's promising a lot to say. He's going to talk a lot about the Ryan James Memorial, which we're going to talk about here very shortly. It's Renee. It's Renee. It's not Rana. It's Renee. But
Yeah, it doesn't matter. That kid sucks.
we're going to talk about that in a bit. A gentleman is well adversed in the culinary arts. Courtney, I promise.
That is true.
Yep. How you doing, Yoshi Matsuda? Yep. Thank you to Andre and Emily. Thank you, Andre and Emily. Another guy got to get on here. Yeah. Okay. Now, yeah. Yep.
Wait. Did Tim say that I want this announcement? Does that mean we're finally going to get Stephen Flo in LAW?
Yeah, I don't have it yet. Timothy
Do
Titan's
you
been
know
on.
who I'm talking about, Tom?
Yes, I do know what you're talking about. I knew what you're talking about. But let me get to the rest of the chat. Yeah, we got the rest of them in. Maybe we'll let that come back at the end. But if you are here and you'd like to hit a sub button before I get to the topic that the reason you're really here tonight, hit the sub button for legit alternative wrestling, and you can do that right here. There you go. And hit the sub button for them, and they'll have some comments here coming out. And yeah, I'll try to, in all seriousness, you deathmatch guys scare me. Massive respect. And yeah, they're the professionals, and don't try this at home. Now, obviously, I am very much looking forward to your thoughts here coming up on the Ryan James Memorial Show, and
Okay.
especially looking forward to that. The WVWF's Ryan James Memorial Show, but I think since we've been here a while, and I think it's time to give you the opportunity to rebut what a young boy was saying about you and also saying about somebody else that I know has been here in this chat through most of the show that you know very well. And I am now talking about Wyatt Black, the Controversy King, and he is going to be a part of that hybrid tournament to crown a hybrid champion here coming up next Saturday in Parkersburg, West Virginia. I'm going to put that poster up, and I'm going to give you now the opportunity to rebut all the things that Wyatt Black has said about you from last week with the Lovable Lester and everything that he's caused grief on you for these past few weeks. So I'm going to let you say anything you want here about what's to come between Wyatt Black and Michael McMoney next week's WVWF Hybrid Tournament semifinal match.
First of all, You are lucky I decided to come back. I was having a very nice time watching Lovable Lester talk about WVWF, and fucking Chunk from the Goonies pops in and challenges me to a match. Why?
I
You
don't
know
know.
what, kid? Sign a prenup, like sign the fucking slip, so I don't get charges for child abuse, and I will hop my fat ass in the ring and I will punch you right in the face. It won't be a match, that's all it'll be. But that just really irritated me. Like the disrespect from that kid. Like, come on.
Mhm.
I don't know what he's trying to prove going after McMoney the second. At one moment it's I'm sucking up to McMoney Senior, and now it's this and that. It's all crap and it's all smoke and mirrors because he's a little punk. But that right there, that's interesting. I personally think that it is a sick joke on behalf of WVWF to even have a tournament because everybody else involved thinks they're going to have a shot, but we all know Michael McMoney, the West Virginia GOAT, is going to be the hybrid champion. He's going to be a Grand Slam champion, and all those bums down in West Virginia are going to have no choice but to acknowledge that. He's not going to give them an option anymore. He came back. He was all happy to be there. He was shaking people's hands, and it got him nowhere. And now he's pissed off, and now he's going to take the only title that he's never won. So there's not even a point in even having a tournament. Just give the title to McMoney right now. Save me like the 4-hour drive of having to watch it. And everybody will be cool. Wyatt Black will learn that life's not fair, and that's a good life lesson. He'll learn that, you don't always get what you want. The title won't be tarnished.
But he's talked about what it would mean to his career to be the hybrid champion. He's talked about that the path for him. I mean, he feels what he's done recently with win after win that it's his. I mean, what do you say about that?
Who cares what it means to him? Michael McMoney has been building WVWF before Wyatt Black was even alive. Like, respect your elders, kid. My gimmick in wrestling is I do the writing, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That is what I do. That's why I'm even here. Mm-hmm. When LAW has their shows, who does the match results? Hake Hudson, because Hake Hudson has been a vet for 50 years.
He's a legend. He's a man a lot of people look up to. Yep, for sure.
Exactly. And I step aside out of respect for the legacy that Hake Hudson has built, and that is what he has earned. And Michael McMoney has earned that same respect. So to have this punk teenager even have the audacity to put his name even close to Michael McMoney's name is beyond ridiculous. It is absurd. It is insulting. If I was Michael McMoney, I wouldn't even show up.
No, well, he's got to show up. He's got to show up. Well, he's going to show up, and I'm sure he's going to use this as motivation. But could you in any way, and again, I don't even know how I can phrase this in the right way, would you think that Wyatt Black, without knowing it, is trying to get under the skin of Michael McMoney and play mind games to give him any chance of get another fluke victory, some would say, this coming Saturday, and propel him to get into the finals of the tournament here for the hybrid championship and hopefully, from his point, walk away with it?
There is not a single mind game tactic that little kid could come up with that Michael McMoney has not already done, but 1,000 times better. He sees Wyatt Black coming. Like, he knows what this kid's trying to do. He tried to attack his son. He's trying to attack me. Like, he's trying to go after McMoney in every single which way possible because he knows that he can't get it done in the ring against the West Virginia GOAT. And that's just what it is.
So really, he's basically trying to distract. He's trying to distract from the task at hand here, going after you, going after McMoney the second. It's really because what's in front of him is not like the other matches that he's had where he found a way to win. There's nowhere for him to go here coming up.
Exactly. There's nowhere to go but on your back looking up at the lights.
So far,
That's
people
how
haven't been able to do that, though. I mean, why do you think he's been so lucky so far with win after win recently? Why do you think he's been able to just do what he's done so far?
I wish I had an answer. Maybe the guys are just too afraid to hit him
I mean,
because he
Damian
looks so
Abel beat him up literally
fragile.
what the entire match. He literally beat him the entire match, and then somehow the match he wins by disqualification because the referee saw something different, and I think toward the end of the match, and he wins the match by disqualification. It's win after win he's had. I mean, he's doing something, whether it's inadvertent or not.
You cannot fluke your way into a title. That's not how the world works. Okay, beating up Soda Pop Jones, who that was only his third match ever. Okay,
He was
ever.
talking about it like as if he won at WrestleMania when he was here a few days ago.
Because when you've only had a career of like, I don't know, 6 months or however long Wyatt Black's been
Yeah,
doing this,
he
any
said
victory feels like a WrestleMania moment. Any victory feels like that. But you're not dealing with somebody like that. You are dealing with Michael McMoney. Michael McMoney, again, has been doing this longer than Wyatt Black's been alive. Soda Pop Jones had 3 matches. You're not even playing the same game here, kid. Like, what
yeah.
are you doing?
I
So, like, I
mean,
know that you've been trying to get me to, like, go off and say horrible things about Wyatt Black, but the fact is, when that match happens, this problem's done. Like, I don't have to deal with it anymore because Michael McMoney is going to solve it for me, and I'm going to be so grateful for it. I cannot wait to
so
see it
really
happen.
the clock is striking midnight on the luck of Wyatt Black here coming up next Saturday, correct?
Finally, it is about time. We've all had to deal with his insufferable nonsense for far too long. We've been accosted with his bullshit for months, and I am sick of it. And you're gonna challenge me to a match? See, here's the thing. Michael McMoney will beat you in the ring. I will kick your ass in the parking lot. Like, I'm not even gonna play around with that situation. Like, I will fight you in the parking lot, Wyatt Black.
So really he should try to focus on this Saturday, and maybe he knows deep down that, like you said, that this is coming to an end.
He should contact all of his teachers right now to get all of his work for the next like 2 weeks, because as soon as Michael McMoney gets his hands on him, he's not going to be able to leave the house.
Well, you know, right
Yeah.
now he's probably not allowed to watch this live because he has to get up for school in the morning. So obviously he's in bed. I mean, so I'm sure in the morning he'll hear some of these comments and most certainly respond. But let me
Yeah.
ask you though a question. All right, so I'm gonna go along with this. Let's say McMoney wins, he beats Wyatt
When
Black.
McMoney wins.
All right, and so let's go with Michael McMoney's in the finals. Now, if you're Michael McMoney,
Of
who would you
course.
rather face, James Enoch or Dax Preacher?
Oh.
Because obviously that's not going to be the same contest as Wyatt Black.
No.
That's going to be a fight. And for McMoney to win the Grand Slam, he's got to get through James Enoch or Dax Preacher. And who would you want to face, or who would you rather face coming up in the finals of the hybrid tournament?
Well, McMoney's already beaten Beef. There's a very
Well,
infamous
and Wyatt
picture.
Black said he wants to end Beefomania. You heard that line, I'm sure. He wants to end Beefomania.
That's so lame. It's like he has a radar of, oh my gosh, this guy's actually likable. I have to stop it
He's
because
been
I'm
beating all
not.
these people. It's really the question that people still can't figure out how has he been able to beat all these names and Damian Abel, Wildcat. I mean, you mentioned St. Helens, Soda Pop Jones, Judo Jones. I mean, he's just been on, some people are comparing him to Goldberg. They certainly don't look alike, but I mean,
Nobody is calling that little fuck Goldberg. No one.
he was comparing him. He said he was telling me off the air that he's had people tell him that they see Goldberg in him. I don't know what matches they're watching, but I mean, the only two things they have in common is they've been winning matches, but one was, I mean, convincingly destroying his opponents. The other one was just basically, basically winning a lotto ticket each match. I mean, hey, in New York, there's a thing, you play the lotto, hey, you never know. And he's won the lotto every match, but, that's what he said.
I'm sure those people are the same wackadoos that tell him he can grow a beard. Like, it's not going to happen.
Well,
It's just
took me a long time. It took me a long time to grow one, and that was the funny thing. But again, if you're McMoney, Enoch, or Preacher, who do you think you want?
I would say Preacher, because he's already beaten him. This whole tournament is very, very personal to James Enoch, so he has a very emotionally charged, game plan. Beef, just knock him around a little bit. So if I'm Michael McMoney, I'm hoping to face Dax Preacher.
It's going to be a very emotional show here. Ryan James, I'm sure you knew him very well, and what was your memories of him?
He was so fascinating to watch. Just the little things that he did made him stand out. I unfortunately didn't get to talk to him very much, but I would just see him in the ring, and I'm very weird. I notice little things that the guys do that I don't know, that's what I noticed, opposed to the bigger stuff.
Yesterday in the show with Silas Walker, and he talked about being observant. You tend to be observant when you're watching the wrestlers then.
Yeah. When you watch as many hours of wrestling as I do, you see, okay, yeah, that's a suplex. I've seen 1,000 of those. But when you can add something subtly different, that's what catches my eye. So he was one of those that was able to do that. I hope I'm explaining that well enough.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And I think Maverick is going to talk a lot about Ryan James here coming up tomorrow night. That's at 9:00 Eastern time, and he wants to talk about it, and I want to talk about it, and I want our friends to go here right now to go hit the sub button for the WVWF, and also hit the sub button for our friends in LAW, like them on Facebook, and tickets are only $18. I mean, what a deal these days. I just went out to dinner, Courtney, Tuesday night with two of my buddies, Josh Bailey and Joe Roses, and we went to a restaurant, and the three of us spent about $400 total, right? $400. Well, let's just say yours truly footed the bill, but yours truly for $400 is like 4 cents. But the facts is that it's not about that. It's about going to a show like this. You're going to get such a bang for your buck. You're going to see some of the very best up-and-coming talents, some people out there that it means a lot to, and especially a show with a lot of emotions. It's the Ryan James Memorial Show. Please support our friends in the WVWF. Please support our friends in law. And only $18. What a deal this is coming up. It's next Saturday. I couldn't think of a better place to be than at the Richardson Building. If you're nearby in the area, 325 7th Street, doors open, 6 o'clock bell time, 7 o'clock. Please get out there, and we support our friends here in the WVWF. And Young Lurch wanted to say that he watches shows the same way that you do. That's a good point. Very observant. Silas made that point, and I'll talk to Young Lurch afterwards. Dax Preacher, I hold 2 victories over him. Never been beat by Mr. Blue Collar himself. Enoch is a mystery, but he'd fall in line like the rest. Timothy Titan wants to remind you that a grown adult woman threatening a high school kid. Just wanted to put this in perspective for you all. McMoney is washed up and in over his head, I have a feeling. That's what he says. Also, Soda Pop Jones is some pothead Pav Novak pushed in. Stop bragging about that, Wyatt Jones. McMoney Sr. wants to say, I'm more experienced, I'm smarter, I hit harder, I'm quicker, I'm sneakier, I'm dirtier, I'm badder, I'm better. Sounds like an LL Cool J album title. That's why my name is all up in his mouth like a high chew bet. Wow, okay. Michael McMoney dropping bars like Timothy Titan might. Maybe Dave Jameson's on the remix. Doc
You reading
Holliday.
Michael McMoney's comment
Yeah.
right there was
Yeah.
more entertaining than anything Wyatt Black has done in his career.
Well,
Just
I
putting that
mean,
out.
I'm sure he'll be back on Sportswire. I mean, he said, by the way, if he wins the hybrid championship, he wants a celebration afterwards. That's what he claimed. He wins the hybrid title. He wants a victory celebration. I don't know if that's going to happen. It's a lot to happen. He's got to win not one but two matches. I messaged Doc Holliday on Instagram, and it's about time that Doc Holliday wants to hear from me. And yes, happy Mother's Day to all the mamas. And I don't have a baby mama out there. I just have a mama, but I wish her a happy Mother's Day. But rest in peace, Sabu. That's the most important part. Yeah, we'll take that off the screen. I did want to ask you, though, before we move on and get to a few other thoughts, I want to ask you a couple of other things remaining on the WVWF show coming up, because I know that you're obviously going to be there, or at least have an idea of what's coming. Maverick's here tomorrow night. He's involved in the world title match. What do you think happens there?
Normally, I would just talk about how great Aaron James is. I would talk about how much I adore Chaos Incarnate, how they don't deserve him as his champion. But this new shaking hands, kissing babies, I'm all a good guy now,
Well,
Aaron
we talked about
James,
that last week, yeah.
it breaks my heart. Like, I don't know what those fans down in West Virginia have done to him, gotten into his head, but it hurts. It really deeply hurts me to see this change in Aaron James. That is not the Aaron James that's going to get it done against these two.
And Abel's got
Though
to obviously have a lot on his mind after somehow getting a loss to Wyatt Black. He's going to have redemption. And then I got Maverick here tomorrow night, who's I'm sure going to talk a lot about that and what would it mean to him to walk away with the WVWF championship. I mean, so I think that both those men are going to have certainly a lot on their mind. And I did bring up the fact that when it comes to Mr. James with Lester, that he's only got a 33.3% chance of walking away with the WVWF championship.
it's a shame. I don't like this timeline. I gotta be honest with you. He was the most ruthless, the most cunning, and now he's just, oh, I'm behind the scenes guy with a camera. Like, no, please come back to us, Aaron.
So the
Please, we
behind the
need.
ring stuff that we're seeing on the WVWF YouTube page, you think is hurting the champion? You think it's taking away from the realism that we saw previously?
It is like, it is a wonderful project. I've enjoyed it immensely. It is very cool for WVWF. It's very cool for the industry. As a fan, I love it. But as somebody that has championed Aaron James since day one, it hurts. I don't want to see that from him. I want to see him when they're doing the training. I just want him to come in and kick Wyatt Black in the face and then walk out. Like, that's the Aaron James that we need. And it all started when the Syndicate fought Genophage, and for whatever reason, he got sucked back into the Syndicate, and now he's all good guy. It's no, I don't like it.
Well,
I
I
don't like
mean,
it at all.
he's going to have his work cut out regardless, and Maverick's going to make his case tomorrow night on why he's going to win the WVWF championship. And oh, by the way, Damian Abel certainly wants that championship, and he wants to redeem himself as well. And I do want to say hello to James Taylor, of the legendary Nemesis James Taylor of ROEW, also a friend or sort of someone related to him as Taffy's Lounge for your lo-fi music beats, closing in on 2,000 subscribers. Congratulations, James. And McMoney says the fans will eventually turn on Aaron James as well. That's certainly a good point. Before I move on here, and get to final thoughts, I want to ask you on one more thing here in the WVWF, because I know it's something you've talked about here, and I know Lester was really excited to talk about it, and I think you're about to know what I'm pulling up, because the women's championship you've talked about here at length a few times, and I was wondering, what do you think here happens?
Phoebe Harper retains.
That's why I got to ask you, because I knew that you would give me that emphatic answer, just like how you emphatically said
Absolutely.
Money is going to decimate Wyatt Black. So tell us why Phoebe Harper is going to annihilate Jade May.
Because that's what she does. She is the best. She will not only kick your ass, she will tell you off while she does it. Her videos are the best. Like her promos, they're just so far ahead of what anybody else is doing. Her in-ring work, her attitude, her everything, like she's amazing. And I have all the respect in the world for Jade May. I honestly do. But that's Phoebe Harper, and that's the WWF Women's Champion for a reason. She's been my Women's Champion for
you said that
since
here
day
before.
one. Yeah, and
here.
I told you she was going to win. And look how beautiful she looks with that title. We talked about Pepper Pride looking right with the title. Look how perfect that looks.
No, she looks like a champion. But Jade May is going to want to take that championship from her. I mean, she's going to, that's her reason she's in the match. She's going to want to win, but you don't think that's going to happen.
Well, everybody that wrestles should want to be the champion. That doesn't mean that it's going to happen.
Right. Well,
I'm sure Jade May, just like myself, would have loved to have grown beyond 5 feet tall. It's just not in the cards right now.
You never know. I mean, listen, who knows?
Really? And like I said, I'm barely 5 foot, so I get to say that. I can make fun of Jade for being short, because I'm short too. So it's fair.
You look taller than Wyatt Black still. You sort of look taller than Wyatt Black. I mean, Wyatt Black, is, obviously, I had to throw that out there. I mean, he's 5'2", I believe, according to your write-up, right? 5'2". 5'2", I mean, if you were building,
I wrote that write-up about him. Okay, I wrote that, and it was unbiased. And it was on the vein, like it was just like I wrote about everybody else. I put his name out there because I'm a professional. And what does that little bastard do? He calls me.
Well, I mean, in one sense, he is influenced by Sabu. I mean, the sad irony of this is that he is influenced by Sabu. I mean,
that's awesome. You can watch Sabu matches and be influenced, but who can actually wrestle like Sabu? Michael McMoney II.
Well, Michael McMoney, we know who he was trained by. We know, it was Necro Butcher. I mean, when you hear that name, obviously now that's different. Now, objectively speaking, Michael McMoney, that's somebody that we know has that in his mind. So I'm listening to that. But Wyatt Black and Sabu, but he is 5'4". I mean, I want to stand corrected, 5'4". And he is from Parkersburg, and
so much better.
He's 5'4", but he might break the mold of champions. I mean, he might break the prototype if he wins the hybrid championship. But Michael McMoney has history. He's chasing being a Grand Slam winner. We know the importance in our sport of being a Grand Slam winner. We also know the Battle Royal obviously is going to be very important coming up. We'll see some surprises. I know Lester talked about that. We've covered the tournament at length. We've talked about the Women's Championship. And before we let you go, is there anything else that you want to share, plug, or promote before we sign
off? Did Timmy make the announcement that he was promising?
I don't have any. I can hang on, but I don't have anything yet from him. No, I don't have anything yet, other than the last comment about you. But no, nothing
okay.
Yet. Well, wait. Is there something else you'd like to say, though, beforehand?
No. I'm going to make the announcement. All right, Timmy? All right?
Wait, you want to do that?
What's he going to do? What's Tim Titan going to do to me?
Well, that's a good point. Considering the mood you're in about Wyatt Black, Michael McMoney says, send it, Titan. Um,
Okay.
are we waiting? Or are we letting you say it?
No, I'm gonna do it.
Okay, so then let's do it here. So tell us what's
This
the
is a really, really big deal.
Okay.
On June 13th
Mhm.
in Pittsburgh, Day Jameson is gonna take on KJ Orsa,
Whoa!
FKA Fuego del Sol,
Whoa! No, can you repeat that again? Repeat that again.
on June 13th in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Day Jameson is going to take on KJ Orsa, formerly known as Fuego del Sol. I
Wow!
will, I will be nice and say that that match is presented by Money Mark Media,
Wow!
but this this has been a match Day's been wanting for a very long time. And it'll be interesting to see what KJ does now that he's no longer Fuego del Sol. And
Wow!
it'll be amazing to see LAW in Pittsburgh.
Well, how about that? LAW Pittsburgh. Is that the first LAW show outside of Parkersburg?
Yep.
What a way to certainly christen that. LAW traveling, LAW on the road, and we're getting the artist formerly known as Fuego del Sol against Day Jameson. I mean, you want to talk about, the future meets present. You want to talk about a headline. You want to talk about a hype man. You want to talk about the signature moment. You want to talk about a moment you're going to remember for a lifetime. You want to talk about innovators. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you got one here coming up June 13th in Pittsburgh, of all places. Pittsburgh. And by the way, we know Pittsburgh's the home of, how about Bruno Sammartino, Kurt Angle? How about the franchise Shane Douglas? And in Pittsburgh, one of the greatest wrestling towns there is, you are going to get Day Jameson and the artist formerly known as Fuego del Sol. I mean, that's an announcement. That's an announcement, ladies and gentlemen. Boy, we're just over a month away from that, and I can't wait to talk about that. And I most certainly hope that Day Jameson will be back on to talk about that. You know what? Forget about Lee Moriarty for a minute. You got the artist formerly known as Fuego del Sol. Yeah, I think that that's going to certainly be a test that we know Day Jameson is going to pass with flying colors. Wow, that's some announcement there, Courtney.
I know, and I was trying to be nice and let Tim make it after
Well,
he insulted me, but you know what? That's fine. I'll take Tim's thunder.
Well, you know what? It doesn't matter whose thunder it is. That's an announcement that I can't wait to talk about. That's an announcement that is a real headline, and we're going to be, I know, talking about that. And this is a guy, Day Jameson. Look at how far he's come. Like I said, I had him on here 5+ months ago, and on a Sunday afternoon, really. And now he's a main eventer. I mean, boy, he's certainly moved up the ladder quicker than a New York Minute, and his life is flashing before his eyes. And like I said, you better see him here on Sportswire, because in 5 months from now, he might be somewhere big enough that he may not even be on here. But that's quite a match to see. And that's quite a match to talk about. I'm excited.
Yeah, you're talking about him for a couple months. Like, I've known Day since he was a child. I'm so proud of him. So, like, you can imagine, like, how proud and
Oh, for sure.
excited I am for him.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine, you know somebody. I've known him for 7, 8 months. I know him from, like Thomas Taft, the Stompers, DVG, but you've known him for years. I've known him 7, 8 months. There's a big difference from that, and to see how far he's come in that short of amount of time. But you've seen him again for about a decade, so that shows you what is come at stake. And please go out and support our friends before we sign off, especially in LAW. I want to put the sub button here for us one more time. LAW content will be coming out here very soon. FUTV episodes will start this coming Saturday. Go to their YouTube page, check out more information. Facebook closing in on 2,000 followers. I would plug the Instagram, but it's almost like not updated. But Facebook and YouTube is where you can find out more information on these shows. And Courtney does a great job writing up for the LAW shows. She also writes sometimes for Express Wrestling, WVWF, and please check her out. And Stephen Flo is amazing. She's not wrong. just subscribed. Thank you, Doc, for that.
Thank
We appreciate
you.
it very much, and we respect KJ Orso. We respect Phoebe Harper, Aaron James. Courtney Wood wants the violence and chaos. Aaron James. Well, you're not quite getting him. You're not getting him on Saturday, but Maverick will tell us maybe why he'll get the WVWF championship to your dismay. But who knows? But I think it's time to pass the baton to you on a very memorable episode here on Sportswire Radio. I look forward to seeing what Maverick has to say on Monday night. I have up and coming wrestler Tuesday here, Joey Knight. He's from Arkansas. He's kind of a special one because he comes from the promo wrestling world, but has now made his mark in the independent wrestling world. And he's a protege kind of James Taylor's. And he's a guy that's come up the ranks, and now he's making waves in Arkansas. Let's talk Arkansas independent wrestling with Joey Knight. He'll be here Tuesday night, 9 o'clock Central Standard Time. So I'm excited about that. It'll be great, Courtney, because I'll get a nice meal here in Brooklyn. I'll get a nice Italian dinner. Hopefully, the chicken parm and spaghetti will hit the spot, and I'll have Joey Knight on.
My absolute favorite food.
Yeah, well, I spent, let's say, $100 last week. Hopefully, I don't spend as much this time, but it was really $400 I spent because the guys ate too much, but that's okay. We'll certainly talk about that a different time. I'm going to pass the baton to you. I'm going to give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say, and the floor may be yours.
Pretty much just LAW's making moves. The battle and the border show, like, that's going to be amazing on Memorial Day. Our debut in Pittsburgh, like, we're doing a lot of things. I'm very excited for the WVWF show.
Yes.
For Ryan James, like, that's going to be incredible. There's a lot of cool stuff going on right now that I'm definitely looking forward to.
Absolutely. Now, listen, I'm excited. WVWF, get more coverage of that tomorrow. WVWF, the longest running company in West Virginia, I believe. The longer 30 years and 30 years in the making. And to talk about that here on the platform is very exciting. I've spoken with some different guys on the roster. It's exciting. And of course, our friends at LAW love talking LAW. We'll have a lot, I'm sure, LAW talk between now and next week. And I think Daniel Tafua wants to be on every day. He tells me all the time, he wants to. I didn't give him the link tonight, actually, but it was your spot. You had a lot to say. I think it was time to let you know.
I don't need gimmicks.
You had a lot of comments. You had a lot of people here on the chat, so you didn't need them. Yeah, I mean, to your credit, you didn't need them. And we'll get them, I'm sure, all back on here. And Godric is on here the day after Aftermath. And I'm sure you'll see a slew of LAW stars next Friday. And I'm sure in between that, we'll get all of that. So please hit the sub button for LAW. Please hit the sub button for WVWF. Check out WVWF and LAW on their Facebook pages. Also, thoughts and prayers out there to everybody impacted by Sabu. And happy Mother's Day to everybody. Thank you for everybody for tuning in tonight. That is Courtney Wood, who definitely was on her best behavior, but still gave Wyatt Black a mouthful. And certainly Michael McMoney, we'll see if he makes history. That would be an interesting thing to see a Grand Slam winner. He's still got to get the finals. He's got to still get James Enoch or Dax Preacher. Still going to be a match. He still has to win to beat them.
See, this is the disrespect that Michael McMoney was talking about.
Well, I didn't say he wasn't winning. I said he's still got to get past them as competitors.
You said if, and this is why he feels disrespected.
I didn't disrespect him.
All of you people are going to owe him an apology when he becomes Grand Slam champion. Well, that's all.
Gotta find out. Listen, I mean, I can't say he's winning it. If I say that, then the other guys are going to complain. They would say that I'm disrespecting them. No, that's not fair to them. Enoch or Preacher,
they can deal with it.
Can they? I don't know. We'll have to find out. I'll tell you what. I'm excited about it. We're excited about it. We're excited about it. And I'm sure that we'll talk about the fallout from it. And maybe we'll have a celebration regardless. But nevertheless, we thank everybody for tuning in. And we look forward to whatever happens at the Ryan James Memorial Show. Maverick is here to talk about that. Maybe I'll ask Maverick his thoughts on Wyatt Black. How would you like that?
That'd
good. I'm sure he'll have a lot to say about Wyatt Black. Probably not too good, right? Probably not
Yeah,
too.
it's not. I think you would find it very difficult to find somebody to say anything positive about that kid.
Well, Anthony Steele, if you doesn't really want to say much about him either. He wants to talk about him on saying why is he using the name Controversy?
Because it sounds cool.
Well, he hasn't seen
He
Anthony
can
Steele.
hashtag it. Like, get
Well,
fucked.
Anthony Steele is a guy that you definitely don't want to get on his side. But you know what? I thank everybody for tuning in. Let's end on a positive. Let's certainly see what happens coming up tomorrow. We're excited to see what Michael McMoney does. We're excited to see the rest of the card. Thank you, everybody, here for tuning in. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice, figuratively and literally, where all music and wrestling matters. And by the way, book the Pitbulls, LAW. You've got his info. Book the Pitbulls. Book Gary Wolf. He certainly is recommended by yours truly, and get the book. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Oh, on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio, where all music and wrestling matters. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow at 9 o'clock Eastern.